What is up, everybody? It is August 13th. It's my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. Probably not going to watch this, but if you do, happy birthday, Mom. We are back behind the white screen, or in front of the white screen. I was just listening to a couple podcasts last week about deer hunting regulations, stuff like that. And coming from the state of Pennsylvania, which is not known for giant deer, but I think they do a good job with certain regulations, to now moving to Michigan that I think does a pretty bad job with a lot of regulations. So I just wanted to come on here, talk about what I've seen, 5 ways to make Michigan deer hunting better. And there's no excuse. I mean, there's big deer in Canada, there's big deer in Wisconsin, there's big deer in Ohio, there's big deer in Indiana and Illinois. There's no every other surrounding state from Michigan has big mature deer in it, and so does Michigan, but it's generally not as well known, or it's just not as good as those other states. So we're going to talk about it a little bit today. 5 things that I think Michigan can do to improve the deer hunting. And when I mean improve, I mean getting more older age class bucks on the landscape so everybody's happy. No matter the guy that shoots 2 bucks every year, or the guy that grinds it out for all season, the guy that hunts 3 days a year. Everyone wants to shoot a big buck. So that's the limiting resource. So if we can increase the limiting resource, you're going to increase hunter engagement. If you want to improve hunting and get more hunters involved, because Michigan's losing deer hunters, shock of the world, we need to have more mature deer on the landscape. And there's things that we need to do as hunters, and there's things that need to happen as legislation to make that happen. So I'm just going to start with number 1 is we need to go to a different gun season. Starting November 15th is way too soon. It's just way too early. We shouldn't have guns in the rut. I think that's a no-brainer. Look at states like Iowa and Kansas and Ohio. What do they all have in common? Late gun seasons. So we need to get that gun season moved 2 weeks back. And I understand the guy that goes, well, I've been going to my deer camp for 70 years and it's always been November 15th. Got it. I have some wiggle room with that. Separate the Upper Peninsula from the Lower Peninsula. The Upper Peninsula, you guys can start November 15th, gun season, November 15th. 1, that would get more people going back up to the UP to hunt that opening day gun season. 2, people still get to go to their camp, still get to have their regular deer camp November 15th, but the Lower Peninsula would be completely different. Different start date. Move it back 2 weeks. Move it to the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Trust me, it will help. And it won't make much of a difference. Move it back 2 weeks. That's all you got to do. Move that lower. If you want to keep the Upper Peninsula, sure. If it's too cold and 2 weeks later, sure. Okay, I have some wiggle room with that. Manage the Upper Peninsula different than the Lower Peninsula. Keep the Upper Peninsula. Keep that start date November 15th. Move the one in the Lower Peninsula, or especially the southern half of Michigan, back 2 weeks. Just has to be done. It's insanity that it's not. So that's number 1. We have to move the gun season. You have to move the gun season. Number 2 is you got to go to a 1 buck state. And you can look at all the data and all the, 80% of guys don't shoot 2 bucks anyway, and, you can look at all the research numbers. I can tell you, growing up in Pennsylvania, the number of deer guys pass because they know the second they shoot a buck, their season's over. Still, I'd say 80% of guys only hunt 1 state. So if you limit that buck tag to 1, you're going to have that psychological effect. You're still always going to have guys that shoot the first yearling that they see. You're still going to have it. But that psychological effect of, I got a 125 on trail camera and there's a 2-year-old 110 right in front of me, and if I shoot that deer, my season's over. That deer gets passed. That deer makes it another year. So going from $2 to $1, Indiana did it. Guess what? Indiana, the quality of deer have improved in Indiana. So yeah, we need to go to a $1 state. Pennsylvania's always been a $1 state. Ohio's a $1 state. Kansas, for at least non-residents, is a $1 state. Like this $2 early gun season, it's insanity. It is insanity that any deer makes it over a year old in the state of Michigan with the number of hunters. So that would be my number 2. Number 3, and this goes all in the hunting community, and I'm not calling out hunters. I'm not saying we have to do this, but like this is where we can stop complaining and do something about it. We got to start shooting does in Michigan. Like, I know it's a cultural thing, but we got to start shooting does. Like, I'm going to vow or try my hardest to shoot 2 does on public land in Michigan this year, because it has to be done. Somebody has to be the adult in the room. Somebody has to realize that there's way too many deer, and the DNR is obviously focused on just lowering the deer numbers. Understand that. Shooting does is not going to kill the deer hunting. We need to shoot more does. We just need to shoot more does. You shoot more does, but like it's just a general, like, just shoot does. You're not gonna lower the numbers that bad. You're not killing next year's buck. Shoot the nanny doe that's 8 years old, because nobody shoots a doe in Michigan and she's out there blowing at your stand every year. Shoot her. Like, we gotta shoot does in Michigan. We gotta shoot does. It'll help the habitat. It'll help the food. It'll help the farmers so that they're not so worried about crop damage. So they're not just shooting every year they see. We need to shoot does as hunters. They taste the same anyway. For the love of God, they probably taste a little better than buck anyway. And guess what? A 3-year-old doe, you're going to get more meat off than a yearling buck. A yearling buck's all bone. And if anybody wants to fight me on that, I grew up in the butchering family. I've butchered yearling bucks, and I've butchered a lot of 4-year-old does. You get twice the amount of meat on a 4-year-old doe than you get a yearling buck. A yearling buck is all bone. Even a 2-year-old buck is a lot of bone. So they don't even start filling out till 3 is where you actually go, oh, there's a decent amount of meat on this deer. You shoot a 4.5-year-old plus doe, she is full of meat. She's all filled out. Shoot the doe. Shoot the freaking does. Like, it's just that simple. Like, some of this stuff just really irritates me, because some of it we can help ourselves, but some of it, yes, somebody has to be the adult in the room, which we'll get to next. Number 4, again, these might ruffle some feathers for people, but number 4, we can't bring baiting back. We just can't. It's absolutely. No. I mean, people are fighting in states like Ohio and Kansas to get rid of bait. We can't enter bait back into hunting in Michigan, and I know it still happens a lot. And I can have a whole separate video on what we should be doing to stop baiting. Selling it at every gas station, selling it at every tractor supply store, selling it at, like, it just got to stop, because people are still baiting. And then you hear the guy, well, I only own 5 acres behind my house and I won't be able to shoot my buck on 5 acres every year. Newsflash, in a healthy deer herd, you probably shouldn't shoot a buck every year on 5 acres. It's just not natural. Like, your neighbor, your other neighbor that all own 5 acres, each one of you should probably not be shooting a buck every year on your 5 acres. And sorry if that ruffles some feathers, but that's just common sense. And if you don't like it, go hunt public, go knock permission, go get a lease. Like, if you don't like it and you only want to hunt your 5 acres and you think that every year you should shoot 1 buck off of 5 acres every year, it's just not healthy for the deer herd bringing that many deer in a small area. And 2, it shouldn't happen. 5 acres is not very big to a deer. So, and again, if you're doing the proper management, yes, you can probably shoot a buck off 5 acres. If you're doing timber cuts and improving and having small 1/4 acre food plots, but just going out behind your house and dumping a bait pile for 2 months of the year, it's not helping the deer, and it's not helping the deer herd. It's not helping the deer hunting. So that's another thing. We cannot bring bait back to Michigan. Terrible idea. I know Ted Nugent's fighting it. I respect everything Ted does for hunting. I understand, but guys, no. No, just it's not going to help anybody. No baiting. Number 5 is, and I guess the quote unquote somebody has to be the adult in the room, or somebody has to step up, whether it's a government official, whether it's a lobbying group, like somebody just has to go and say, this state is run terribly when it comes to deer hunting. And I know it's not probably priority number 1 for any Michigan governors or lieutenant or senators or Michigan state representatives, but if they can do it in other states, we can do it here. And I don't know if I'm going to be in Michigan for the next year or the next 50 years or till the day I die. I'm not sure. But like somebody has to be the adult in the room, and somebody has to like change some of these things or try to change some of these things. And hunters are not going to like some of them. They're not going to like going to a 1-buck. They're not going to like changing the gun season. But sometimes you have to just do what's best for people that don't know any better. Sometimes you just got to take away the crack from the crack addict, because it's just, and you'll hear complaining, and short term you might lose hunters, but guess what? When you think of the best states to deer hunt, they don't have bait, and you could say Kansas does have bait. Okay, whatever. Kansas could be better if they took away baiting. But like, we got to get rid of the bait. We got to get rid of the bait, keep it out. I know we have no baiting, but it's trying to get brought back in, and people bait in Michigan. People bait even though it's illegal. We got to get rid of that. We got to start shooting more does. Just like we gotta change the gun season. If we want hunting in Michigan to improve, we as the deer hunters have to say these are the hard things other states around us or other states have done to improve. We need to do the same thing, or we can just keep shooting every yearling we see and just keep not shooting any does and just keep kicking the dirt and going, I don't know why there's no big deer in Michigan. Because there are big deer in Michigan. They just live in the suburbs. I'll throw pictures up, videos up at the bottom of this video. There's big deer in Michigan. They just need age. The genetics are there in a lot of these areas. And yes, there's areas that have sandy soil. And there's areas that there's parts of each state that don't have good areas. The upper 2/3 of Iowa is nothing but cornfields. There's no deer there. It's nothing but, there's nothingness. 2/3 Iowa. Go to Ohio. Go to Western Ohio. It's all ag. There's areas that don't have a lot of deer in certain states, but the state is still a good deer hunting state. The whole state, Michigan has so much habitat. We have so much habitat, and we just waste it on shooting the first buck we see on the opening day of gun season. It just drives me nuts. And I'll probably shoot a yearling this year, or 2-year-old Michigan, on public land, and I won't have shame for it, but because that's what we have. So you can call me a hypocrite if you want, but it's just somebody has to be the adult in the room. It's that simple. Somebody has to, and I know it could be harder than a state like Iowa or a state like Kansas or a state like Ohio, where the majority of the politics in those states are one way, but it's still, we got to find a way to make it happen. So there's my little gripe this morning on a Wednesday morning. I don't know if you'll be seeing this Wednesday or Thursday. Having my coffee before work, but I mean, yeah, sorry, yeah, it's just, this state could be so much better than it is. And we have so much habitat, and we have decent soil types in certain areas, and we have the genetics in certain areas. It just, we don't get the age on them. And that's the frustrating part. They're here. They're over in Canada. They're over in Wisconsin. They're down in Ohio. We got to be better. We gotta do something to move the needle. So, like I said, I don't know how long I'm going to be in the state of Michigan. If I am here long term, this will definitely be something that's broad that I will somehow find a way to get with a group or something. But I don't know how long I'm going to be in this state. It's just frustrating to me that everybody it is what it is. No, there's something we can do. And the state's just being very mismanaged and it is what it is. But, somebody's got to stand, somebody's got to do it. So, I will say a lot of the things that I watch and listen to are Skip Sly. Like I listen to Skip a lot, and he's done a lot for the regulations to keep Iowa. So definitely go check out Iowa Whitetails if you haven't. Just on the regulation side of stuff, there are things that we could do in Michigan, but it comes down to, and I know there's a bunch of special interest groups in Michigan with deer hunting and how that gets run, and I'm not sure on the ins and outs, but sometimes somebody's got to be the adult in the room and go, this is what needs to happen. So anyway, enough of me rambling on about that. Just wanted to come up here, give you those quick 5 little things that I thought could make Michigan better and make Michigan a quote-unquote big buck state. So hope you guys have a great rest of your day. God bless each and every one of you, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.